Before I get into the video, I wanted to let you all know that I'm going to be out of the country until November 17th, so not a ton of new content will be coming out past a few scheduled videos like this one. But rest assured, I have PS4 copies of Destiny 2, Wolfenstein 2, and Assassin's Creed Origins sitting and waiting for me when I get back, so reviews of those will be coming soon. Also, I want to briefly say it up front for anyone who doesn't make it through the whole video, I've changed a lot of stuff on my Patreon to help fund this project, so click the link in the description and take a look. Thank you to everyone who voted in the poll I did a couple weeks ago about what I should do about the Xbox One X. Over 2,900 people have voted at the time I'm making this video, which is pretty insane and a lot more than I was expecting. 42% of you voted for me to build a $500 PC that could compete against the Xbox One X and use used parts. Only 9% of you voted for me just to stick to the PS4 and PS4 Pro series, which leaves the other two options. Either building a brand new $500 PC to compete against the X1X, or comparing the X1X to the existing Potato Masher Pro. As usual, the really good conversation was in the comment section of the video. There were a lot of people making convincing arguments for all sides, and after talking to many of you and thinking about it for a few weeks, I now have a plan for what I'm going to do and how you can help. I've decided that I'm going to start by comparing the Potato Masher Pro to the Xbox One X. The Masher Pro's GTX 1060 is definitely weaker on paper than the Xbox One X, but as many of you mentioned, the flexibility of different graphic settings and the faster CPU in the Masher might give it an edge in more games than you might think. Remember, just like with the PS4 Pro, the Xbox One X's game support will only be as good as what developers choose to do with all the extra power. I try to wring every last bit of performance out of the Masher Pro in every video, so while the Masher Pro is definitely the underdog and should definitely lose most fair fights, will it? I'm not so sure, and this is why I want to start with the Masher Pro. If it's capable of even matching the X1X in quality while being a year older and $50 cheaper, that's pretty cool. Now, of course, it should lose, at least on paper, so if it gets absolutely trounced and the X1X really is the beast 4K console that we're all excited to see, then I'll build a $500 used PC to compete against the X1X. I think we'll know how the Masher Pro is going to fare within a month or two, tops, but if the X1X happens to get a price drop before I build a used PC, then I'll match whatever the current price of the X1X is. That's not all. I've been waiting a long time for something to release that would greatly increase the quality of the videos I can make, and it's finally available. Elgato's 4K 60 FPS capture card is releasing November 21st. This will allow me to really show the differences in different resolutions, including sharpness, aliasing, etc. I've used multiple Elgato cards over this series, and I'm looking forward to using this one. I've had great results so far. It's not that cheap, but $400 is the most affordable good 4K recording card that's come out so far for gaming or just video recording in general. Elgato, if you see this video and want to sponsor this series, I would be very interested. Shameless plug. I've put in a pre-order for it along with purchasing an Xbox One X. That'll be arriving when I'm in Iceland over the next couple of weeks, but I'm excited to dive into it when I get back. Funny story, actually, I was pre-ordering the Xbox One X and they had the option of speeding up the shipment for like $10 extra, and I was like, sure, let's do it. Instead of getting here on like November, 17th or something, it'll get here on November 7th, launch day. That's awesome. Then I realized I'm leaving the country on November 6th, so it's kind of useless. So between those two items, all the money in my YouTube account is pretty much dry at the moment, so here's where I could use your help to make this series as awesome as it can be. I'm going to be selling my Vive and a few older mics, and I always resell the physical copies of games that I buy to test. That helps offset the cost of buying the X1X and the Elgato capture card, and is probably my best solution until I get large enough that publishers send me review copies. But buying a PS4, PC, and Xbox version of each major game is potentially $180 out of pocket per review, at least for games that have just released, and in case you're curious how much money I make off ad revenue on YouTube, it's nowhere close to that much. I want to be clear that I'm not complaining, begging, or rationalizing this series. I do it because it's fun and you guys enjoy it, and when those things aren't true anymore, I'll stop, money or no money. But I thought it would only be fair to explain how all this works so you can choose to help fund it if you want. If you don't like my content enough to support it financially, that's totally fine and I'm not offended and I'm grateful you're here watching, but with your support, I can make it even better. So I've overhauled my Patreon to now be a monthly support model instead of per video. That way I can make more varied videos without worrying about making enough traditional reviews, which used to be the only paid videos I made. That should also make the monthly support more predictable for people who are happy to chip in $1 or $2 but don't want to take the chance on me releasing a bunch of videos in a given month and then being on the hook for that much support. So now there are two tiers. $1 a month gets you a link to watch every video 2 days before it releases publicly, excluding videos like this quick update that don't have any actual game testing. $5 a month gets you the same thing as the $1 tier, plus a download link for the 4K render file I upload to YouTube, so you can watch the reviews in the best possible quality. Both tiers get you access to a Patreon-only channel on my Discord server. Fair warning, I'm normally too busy to hang out on Discord for extended periods of the day like some YouTubers are able to, but it is a nice way to get in touch if you want to chat about anything in particular as I'm available. So besides buying the X1X and the new capture card, what do I need the money for? Well, there's the aforementioned games I need to buy for review. I may need to upgrade my recording drives to handle the larger 4K files. We'll see how it goes with me just recording a few at a time. And I'm going to definitely have to get another monitor. This part's a little frustrating because I already have 2 4K screens, but both my 4K monitors are just old enough to support HDMI 1.4 and of course DisplayPort, which is what I use. And I've been using both my monitors with DisplayPort for 3 years on one of them and now almost a year on the other, but to record 4K 60Hz gameplay with an external HDMI recorder, and of course both gaming consoles use HDMI, I need to get a 4K screen that supports HDMI 2.0, which is where you get that 60Hz support. That means either a newer 4K monitor or a cheap 4K TV. And they're both about the same price for one that'll work. It's about $350, and I might need a few small things to get it mounted and the rest of the recording setup going, so all told we're looking at around $1,300 to get this series off the ground in the quality that it deserves. Now I've already spent $900 of that and cleared out my YouTube balance, so your support on Patreon would mean a lot for the series and I'd appreciate it, but I can get started with what I've got going right now. I just won't be able to do native 4K recording until I get the 4K screen. Almost 3,000 people voted in the poll. If 10% of you who voted chipped in $1 a month on Patreon, I'd be already exceeding my goals and able to expand the series very soon. One of the expansions I'd like to make is either an additional section in video reviews or an additional video where I run over the settings for each game and talk about which ones affect the frame rate the most and which are the most important for making games look as good as they can while still keeping your performance up. If we hit $200 per month in support, besides saving for the next generation console challenge, I'll also expand into settings videos as much as I'm able to. So that's what I've got for you. An exciting new series, possibly 2, native 4K recording, and more videos than ever before. Your comments, likes, video shares, and views are already very helpful, so thank you. And thank you to anyone who chooses to support me on Patreon to take this series to the next level. Lastly, a huge thank you to everyone who currently supports me on Patreon. The series wouldn't have made it this far without you. By the time you see this, I'll be in Iceland, so I probably won't be responding to too many comments until I get back, but I'd love to talk to you then. I appreciate your support, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.